Well, what we were saying just before I kind of got onto that, we're talking about the importance of conversation, the importance of like-minded individuals having conversations as such, and how. Anyway, so let me come back to what I was saying before. Then we'll see, because I don't know how we'd piece this talk together, but let's just it doesn't matter. We'll just go for what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start that part again.
Kind of like warming us up.
Yeah, very long warm up.
Very long warm up.
Yeah. So, okay, so for the listeners who might be listening to this now, we were chatting about in a previous attempt of what we thought we were recording, but there wasn't recording. But we're having a discussion about why sometimes, unconsciousness and programming can sort of lead to sort of self-demise and self-destruction, self-sabotage. Like, why? What is it, even in my own life, that I was on this road of self-destruction? And I mentioned as well, like with that for myself, it was like I couldn't find any meaning. I couldn't find any why. Couldn't find any reason. And I just found it was just endless suffering. And so it made sense for myself to just, indulge in pleasure and in fantasy sometimes. And pleasure was alcohol and a lot of amount of alcohol, ridiculous amount, and painkillers and whatever it was, and fast foods. And it was just pleasure to escape the pain of my existence and the nothingness, the voidlessness, the meaninglessness of it. Because again, I wasn't finding the great thinkers, which I'll tell you about now. I mean, you're asking a question before, like who influenced you? What was your influence? What did bring on the shift in that way, which I'll get into. But I couldn't connect with. I couldn't find. I mean, I was looking elsewhere. Like I said, I found self-help books. I found Wayne Dyer, but it didn't hit home enough. I didn't know about psychedelics or anything like that. It was like, and for myself, what I had found that I imagined that it was everywhere. Like there was just absolutely nobody that had felt like me ever, or had ever had existential questions like me before, ever. So I was alone. I was like sort of maybe, a stranger in a strange land, or, something like that. And I don't know, can't make sense of anything, whatever it is. It was pleasure and self-demise, self-destruction, self-sabotage in every area of life, job-wise, relationship-wise, health-wise, etc. Physical, well, that's health. But one of the things that I realized when I went now for the loo was that for myself, a lot, again, multidimensional, because we act on so many different dimensions. It's not just one. But I mean, from one dimension, what I think I was doing was that I was causing pain to myself in hope that people would see the pain that I was in. I was looking for attention. I was looking for the affection, and the attention, affection that I never got when growing up. In other words, I had an extremely difficult time with my religion. I'd say with schooling, whatever it was, with competitiveness amongst my brothers, and I was very much undermined, because again, my emotions and my discomforts were not warranted. My mother didn't have the time, my father wasn't around, or whatever the situation was. And maybe spiritually or religiously, when I did have the existential questions, and I would go and ask the sort of the figures, the spiritual figures in my life, or the Jewish figures in my life, the rabbis, whatever it was, I'd get sort of put down again, and maybe given some half-assed answer that just made matters worse. So what I'm saying was that there was a lot of pain and grief and suffering in my life as a child that I was never embraced, and it was never welcomed. It was actually seen as something to be a taboo, and seen as very problematic. And so what I'm saying for myself, when I grew up, when much older, I think what I was doing in a subconscious way, see, this is the game where we're acting from the subconscious and we don't know it, and this is how we get into harm's way. It's because what I was doing is looking for attention, and the only way I was looking for attention was harming myself, okay, and embarrassing myself, but embarrassing myself in terrible ways. Like, I would tell inappropriate jokes at the dinner table, at the family dinner table, and I would do, shameful things. And, I was thinking, now the thought comes to mind is people who are suicidal, or people who cut themselves. One, why do they cut themselves? I say, is to feel something, to feel pain, because they've been denied feeling their emotions. They've been removed from feeling their own experience of life, right? Maybe it's a young girl who's just been, overlooked and maybe abused by her father or something like that, and is in pain, but can't talk about it. because her father says to her, listen, you don't open your mouth about it. So she has to suppress the pain. So she suppresses her own emotion. Emotion helps us feel alive. And when we numb it off, like unfortunately when I was on antidepressants, the one thing which was good in that way for that time being was the antidepressants numbed me from my own emotions. So I felt very docile. Okay, I mean that's what sort of fluoride in water does as well, makes you pretty docile. Anyway, so I was docile and I wasn't feeling my own emotions, and because I was on antidepressants at the same time, in a way, I wasn't even feeling the harm and the pain that I was doing to myself and to others. Because again, the message of emotion was not there to tell me, hey, something's deeply wrong. Okay, so I was numbed off from that. I mean, literally numbed, like Novocaine, just numbed. And so for myself, just coming back, I was acting out of people cut themselves, one, to feel something, and another thing is they cut themselves for attention. They cut themselves, they desperately need attention. They feel so isolated, so alienated, so unloved, have no affection, that they cut themselves. And I think they cut themselves as well because that's what they feel that they deserve. They've been mistreated, they've been overlooked, they've been neglected. And so in a way, you want to I would say sometimes complement the pain of how you actually feel, right? So you cut yourself, or you overeat, or you binge drink, or something like that. In other words, that's the shadow reflection inside of yourself. It's like you find maybe an abusive partner, somebody who's going to be abusive to you, to show you what you think your worth is. That's what you understand maybe love to be. If you were abused as a child, you look for abusiveness because maybe you have been. It's kind of like that the analogy that they use with the imprinting. Yeah. It's imprinting. Yeah. It's like again with the ducks. If you take the baby ducks and you take the mother duck out the room and you put in a basketball and you roll the basketball around, the ducks will follow the basketball. And when you bring in the baby ducks and you bring in the mother duck, they won't even follow the mother duck anymore because they've been imprinted with the basketball. So for ourselves, we've been imprinted with an idea of maybe love as being something of abuse. So we start abusing ourselves. We don't even realize that we're doing it. Again, the subconscious, the shadow, whatever you want to call it. We're blinded from what we actually are doing. And so for myself, coming back to my own personal story in that way, was I think one of the issues that I was acting out and where I was harming myself was for love and affection and attention. I was like, look, I'm overweight. Look what I'm doing to myself. I'm drinking and driving. Look what I'm doing to myself. I'm taking all these painkillers and antidepressants. I'm waking up at 12 o'clock, in the afternoon and don't have a job. I was looking for people to feel sorry for myself, because I was feeling sorry for me. So I was in a whole lot of pain. I didn't even know but I didn't even know that I was in the pain. Because again, in my mind, I just thought I was crazy. And that's what happens to society. That's what happens in culture, I suppose, when one starts to really honor the way that they feel. Okay? It can be a very sort of frantic moment in time because you realize how much you've been overlooked. You realized how much you've been put into schools that you didn't want to, classrooms that you didn't want to be in, how you were denied your own talents, gifts, whatever, blessings, in curiosity. You were told this is what you will learn. Like I said, that's why society engineers us to be to remove us from our own states of being, our own authentic self. Again, we become these puppets on a string. We become these marionettes. And the last thing, this is the thing about the consciousness. Not only is the consciousness, you're realizing about your emotional states and how you're self-sabotaging. Because again, I believe when you're not truly being in touch with who you are and honoring your authenticity and your feelings, and coming from the heart space, and having a life that has meaning and substance, and relationships that have meaning and substance, then your natural, I would say, your default programming is no meaning. Without the meaning, without the love, it's like, well, what difference does it make? Nothing matters. Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what kind of lifestyle. Doesn't matter what I eat. Doesn't matter what I say. I can just do whatever. It doesn't matter how greedy I am. Doesn't matter how corrupted I am. It makes no difference. Nothing makes any difference. And that's the world that we live in today, is that people have lost hope. Nothing matters. And that's the thing, is that so what the thing that matters almost in a way is our own self-destruction. It's terrible. It's the Ouroboros. It's the snake eating its own tail. We are consuming ourselves, into oblivion. That's what we're doing with the world. It's like the resources of the world. We're consuming them, right? We're eating our own tails. We're eating our whatever it is, and we're doing it with a smile on our faces, to a degree. I mean, this blissful. You see, so if you want to really start looking at the world, it's not the most beautiful of pictures, but it's not, and that's why it can make you feel a little bit anxious. It's like, oh my goodness, is this what we're doing? So that's what it's about. And but then again, the more that you face it, the more that you wake up to it, the more that you wake up to yourself, the light comes in, and you realize that a leap needs to be taken. A shift needs to happen. A shift. I'm saying not shit, but a shift needs to happen, whereby it's like no more am I going to be anchored down into the Truman Show Matrix world reality mind manifesto, and not only that, but the meaninglessness and the joy, the true joyousness of things, and whatever it is, the self-demising, and you realize that there's something much more profound and beautiful. Now it's a narrow neck escape. Can you overcome your conditioning, your programming, your wounds, and whatever, and the anxiety of the whole world and the current situation that we're represented with in time, that you can make it to safe ground in yourself? Self-assurance, confidence, self-esteem, whatever it is, knowing, learning about the mystery of who you are. And the only way that I think you can do it to a certain degree and get into, sort of on safe ground, because you're not in safe ground when you start on this process in a way. I think you're in the hands of the angels. I really think it's a birth process. I think you're in
at this
sorry.
point where I'm at, I find like for a while I was in a really dark space, and I was looking everywhere to find anybody, because everybody's just talking about how they're really happy and everything's so great, and I'm like, no, I'm feeling everything, and it's
of
not
course.
great right now.
Of course, that's why the conscious awakening, whatever it is, the answering the call, is not done by most. Now I don't know if it's most are supposed to answer it. If on this lifetime, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's how it's set up. But what I'm saying is that, of course, it's a very bleak reality to wake up to, because you wake up to the initial state of a nightmare. It's like nothing, it's all inverted. Nothing is what I thought it was be. Then you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm an absolute stranger. Now, can you handle that? Most people can't handle that. I'm not sure if most people. That's why I'm very much of the state of being is that I don't want to wake anybody up. Because if you wake them up, then then you got almost like a panic on your hands. You got that situation on your hands that maybe it's like someone was sleeping and you woke them up and you gave them a fright, like you woke them up with a bullhorn, and all of a sudden they don't know where they are. Maybe you were traveling with them in the car or something, whatever, and they have no idea where they are, and they're discombobulated, they're disorientated, they have nowhere to turn, they don't know what's going on. That's what the scene in the Matrix is about with Neo, when when Morpheus lays on the heavy hand of reality to him, a very big dose, and he says to him, "This is what it's like. It's machines. We are slaves to machines, and it's a Matrix world. When you look outside your window, when you pay your taxes, when you go to church, whatever it is, it's there. It's the world that's been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth." What's the truth? That you are a slave, like everybody else. You're born into bondage, into a world you cannot taste, touch, smell, or see, whatever it is, a prison for your mind. So you wake up to that reality. It's like a startling mad. It's like, oh my goodness me. And that's the initial stages. But I think that's the stages when you're guided in the hands of love and the angels and synchronicity and whatever it is, all that good stuff, which you always are. You always are. But I mean, you're kind of kicking and screaming, and it's pretty dark. But then eventually you start finding your own bearings, you start feeling your own balance, your own centeredness, and you start figuring out who you are. And you start realizing the blessing that you've been instilled with about your very beingness. Your self-discovery. That's what we've come here to do. One of the reasons, one of the purposes of self-discovery. Find that gem inside. Find out the strengths that you have. Find out the potential that you have. Find out the love that you have. Right? I mean, if that's all been taken away from you, now what a great opportunity to rekindle that and refine all of that and see what you're capable of and see what you can do. I mean, it's very exciting, and that's again the positive note on kind of a sort of somewhat extreme twist of things. That's a plot shift.
It's for me that was the past few months. I find that it's in stages.
Say again, you just got to speak up a bit,
I
sorry.
found that it happened in stages. Last year, I saw it in a psychedelic experience. Um, and it's something that I just didn't want to look at, but it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee
You
it.
can't.
It's a trick. It's like, I love magic. I still do. But when the worst part in a way was that when you saw how the trick was done, you
Yeah.
can't undo it.
Yeah.
You can't put the genie back in the bottle, and this is where the novelty breaks through the seams. This is what also we don't really necessarily understand what we're getting ourselves into. Oh, I'm just taking a psychedelic, I'm just going to chill out, whatever. The next thing, your whole world is blown away,
Yep.
and you don't come back to where it
I
was before.
in a
It's
state
gone.
of psychosis for 6 months. 6
Yeah.
months. And that's what I mean. Like, I had to, ground myself. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Everybody thought I was going crazy. I was giving away all my things, I just didn't.
Yeah, I was the same. I mean, I broke out into the conspiratorial side of things.
Yeah.
In a bad and I did some crazy things. No, I was not. I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, I almost got myself into very, very deep trouble.
A lot of it's really embarrassing, and I did it all on the internet.
I also did. That's the downside of the internet. I also did. I was on my Facebook and my friends, and I was putting on about psychedelics and conspiracy theories and whatever it was, and aliens and extraterrestrials, UFOs or whatever it is, and all this kind of stuff, and the Matrix, and people were looking at me, and I remember my family, they had to call me aside and say, listen, man, it's not just for your sake, but it's for the family's sake. Like you really, you're causing big trouble here for, which I understand, I can appreciate, I mean, it was online, and what I was doing, and so yeah, but that's what you're doing. Why wouldn't you be? And so we've got to be sort of very sensitive and graceful to ourselves, and loving to ourselves for that initial stages, for that maddening stage in a way. It's the awakening. It's the uninitiated shaman. That's what it is. But our culture and society won't look at it that way. I mean, if I met you and you'd be telling me, I'm giving my, let's say when this was going on, I'm giving my stuff away, and I'm talking on the internet, and I'm embarrassed, I would say, sure, you're on the right track, Just keep with it, and you'll see that it will shift into something else, But that which we don't really have. But that's what we're trying to be there for other people, because who knows, if this is recording, if someone's listening to this, they say, oh man, this is a lifesaver,
I think that's why we had to record again, to have that deeper understanding of why this conversation is happening right now.
That's a synchronicity. That for myself is a synchronicity. Synchronicity is a management from behind the scenes that, you think you're going to manage something. I mean, for the viewers that are listening, you think you're going to switch it on, and have a conversation for an hour and a half, and you realize the first hour wasn't recorded, and you say, why did that happen? I mean, it didn't happen unnecessarily. There was a reason for it, and maybe because, again, we've now in this section which has been recorded gotten into the heart and the depth. And so what I'm saying is that if this was an hour and a half long that we uploaded, most people, maybe 2 or 3 would still be listening. I mean, an hour and a half is a hell of a long time, but now we've narrowed it down maybe to say 30 minutes or whatever it is, and we've got to the heart of the matter in a very quick time, and that's how it needed to be. In other words, this is what I love about it, is that something foresaw this.
Yeah.
And foresaw this before the time it actually happened.
So crazy. Oh.
It's crazy, but that's the love. It's like, I think to myself, you think you're going at this alone? You think you're on it on your own, and you're having to through tooth and nail fight and what? No, there's assistance along the way. There's a guidance along the way. Okay, but just don't force it. As well. You've got to find that groove, because it will work with you. But once you become too egotistical, or when you become too, let's say, this is very, very hard, because you can become quite bitter. I want it to go my way. Yeah. And it doesn't go the way that you plan, but it goes the way that that it needs to go for whatever reason. And that's the letting go. That's the humility in saying, look, I'm going to do whatever I do, it'll turn out the way that it turns out. right? It's co-creation. I can't imagine that we were put here on our own to be just creators and just to, we'll make such a muck up of it. I really think. I think that we aided along the way, and I think that's beautiful. But again, it's very hard the humility and the openness to be able to realize that, because what's that saying then? That's saying that you got to be conscious of this, that there's something else going on. In the beginning, it's very weary. It's very like, oh no, it's too a bit overwhelming, and it's like too, in my, again, opening that door, that the Pandora's box or the genie out of the bottle. It's like, so you're telling me all the time that there's an observation going on, that there's a love and there's a care and there's a direction that's going on, and say yes. And there's a kind of a parenting in a way, a soft kind of parenting that's going on. A soft time, say yes, yes. As ego that says no, there isn't. I'm in complete control, in complete direction, in complete manifestation, and that's I'm completely alone on this. Say not at all. It's like in the learner, I don't know, I've seen it. No, we don't have it in this country, but when you go for your learners, when you in your car, I've seen it on some cars that the driver has his own steering wheel and brakes on his side of the car. And that's and we don't have that here, but I've seen that, and that's, I think, what's going on. We are learning to drive this vehicle of human consciousness with our programming and our with a shadow and whatever else that's coming along. And so, of course, we're going to be aided. Of course, we're going to be guided. But again, it's a supernatural thing. You have to be in a good space of spirit and heart and mind to be able to recognize that. Well, even if you don't recognize it, doesn't mean that it's not there.
Yeah, well, no, before I even did, started setting up for this talk, I did an hour meditation with my guides, with my higher self, with my guides, with nature, with Pan, and I asked to, have them guide this, so yeah, it is being aware that there's an external force.
Oh. Can you see, that's what makes you also very in touch. I mean, like when you tell me that, that's like preparing the supper table in a way. You're preparing the ground. You're laying the groundwork in a way to build something, and that's a sensitivity. Hey, that's like that's a connectedness. That's not like a mindlessness. It's like, let me just boom, sit down and start and whatever it is type of thing. It's a preparation. And we don't have that anymore. We don't take it that, I would say, not seriously, but with that much intention and sacredness behind it. And I really enjoy that. I mean, this is very lovely, and what you said is very beautiful. It's like we create these temples of space, I mean, of what we're doing now, I find, and of sacredness, of holy ground.
Yes.
And how do you, and
Yes, it's very, when you are, I mean, there is a nature intelligence underlying that we are all part of, and that
absolutely
makes all of us. And that's why when doing my work, even when doing my videos, always I call upon Pan, my higher self, devas, different, what else? Pan, and some devas, and I really just connect with nature intelligence, connect with my higher self, and really guide me through that, because really that's the only thing that's been helping with that chaoticness within the brain. And that's why I talk about Paralandria. I don't know if you know of them, but they do create books called co-creative, I think it's the co-creative arts or something, and it teaches you how to work with nature intelligence in order to go to higher levels of consciousness or co-create your reality. So it's called Paralandria. I suggest everybody look into it, because it's really helped me with just understanding that, like, I'm not doing this myself. I can't. I'm just stumbling along figuring it out.
I mean, on that note, you asked me before in the part that we didn't record, it was like, why, and you ask yourself the question, why is it that you do the videos? Why do you do these videos? Why are we doing what we're doing now? And again, for myself, I feel like that it's a calling. You're called to do it. You find, I mean, the arrangement of my life and whatever it is, my need to connect with others out there on these sort of subject matters and these heartfelt matters to share my experience and whatever it is. It's like I'm not doing it on my own. I've been called to do it. I just found that the way that it's aligned, it's like, for one, is that for the first and foremost is for my own sort of healing and growth, and then whatever is of benefit from that to others, then that's also the second part, I would say, of what it's about. But again, I also don't think that we do it on our own, and because. Yeah, I just really like this idea that we're in touch more so, because I don't like sitting on the idea so much about the sort of Matrix world and the Truman Show and the Vanilla Sky, and then the movie Vanilla Sky or something like that. The delusion or the deception. I mean, it's fine and there's a time for it and it's necessary, but you can't hop on it so long. Because it's you can't get stuck in that way. A lot of people do. A lot of people online get actually very much stuck in that and go into the deep sort of dark layers of all of that. And that's not. I don't think. Okay, maybe for some that's fine. But what I'm saying is that you need to find a loving narrative or meaning and explanation for something that's a lot higher, because it can get pretty dark. So you need to weigh it up, and that's also one of the things for myself in my channel, and I'm sure for you as well, is that like. You can look upon it and say, I'm really doing something of good value for myself and for others. And that holds me in good esteem in those sort of lower moments, when I'm feeling a little bit, when the critic comes about, or I'm feeling sorry for myself, or I'm feeling like, what's all the meaning to it? Because this is what happens. This is the experience of life, So for myself, it's just a little like sort of nugget that I carry around, golden nugget that I carry around in my satchel or something like that, that when times are a bit tougher, I take out this this gold nugget, metaphorically speaking, and I say, look what I've done. Look the possibility of the people that I've assisted and helped, and who I've befriended along the way, and whatever it is. And so we're called to do these things for many different reasons. And it's beautiful, and that's what I wish to connect with more, so is the beauty, because you need to do that in the times that we are in.
I see. That's why, I had to do this talk. That's why I had to get re-inspired.
Sorry, just speak up there. I'm
sorry. That's why I had to do this talk with you. That's why I had to get re-inspired, because for a while, I was just feeling like this is pointless. Like for a second, you think this is pointless, and that's what I was feeling at that that last video I did, and I'm just like, am I going crazy? Am I even making a difference? Is there any point to this? And you find yourself in those spaces. But yeah.
Daily. I mean, for myself as well. Because that's again the conditioning. I think that's again the materialistic sort of, just is what you see is what you get on the surface of things. It's like, is there such a thing as all of this? Is it just part of my imagination sometimes, the angel, the spirit guides, or the higher self, or something like that, or consciousness and awareness? Or is it just making it up? Because again, sometimes you have those moments, and you have like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Does this make a difference? I have those moments very, very often, and then I see I remind myself of the importance of saying it's absolutely beneficial. It's absolutely a necessity. It's not just for for shits and giggles. It's a necessity. And I also say that why is because if we could see it from the higher picture, we would absolutely, our minds would be blown away. I mean, because sometimes when I get more into that frame of mind, I think to myself, you know what, Aaron? It's like you've been called upon in this time of change, of metamorphosis, in the whole of history. I mean, if the world's been going on for millions of years, you've got you're living in a blink of an eye span of time. You've got a great opportunity here, to help maybe the shift to be like sort of, again, one of these, what's the word? I've used it in my talks before. When you assist something, stewards.
Yeah.
Stewards.
Yeah.
Like when you're a steward, like, can you imagine? Like, you can get in touch with that, like a steward, what the possibilities, the opportunity that lies. It's just, it overwhelms me. And that's why sometimes I feel like I can't waste time.
Yeah.
Like I can't waste, this relaxing and maybe sometimes watching, some kind of comedy movie or whatever. But like, I say, no, there's a job to do. The clock is ticking.
Yeah.
I mean, it is vital. We are now in the last sort of, birth
Funny.
pangs of this process. It's like, the alarm bells are ringing, the sirens are ablazing.
Aaron,
Get
wait a
on
minute.
with it.
It's funny that you say that because I had a dream in March. This is while I was going through my transformation, and I had a dream with the devil. And it was the devil figure, and it was teaching me about how, and I saw my time clock. Everybody has like a time clock, a clock,
Sure.
and it was my clock, and it was my time was up. And it was also my YouTube subscribers going up, but it didn't matter because my time was up. It didn't matter. And
so
yeah, no, that was really telling of, like, it's not about, like, it might have started that way, but now it's just like it's humanity's time to transform. It's much deeper than that. It's all of us.
And your time and my time.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a preparation. I think that's what's going on.
So do you think it's an individual?
Yeah, I think we just got the news a little bit earlier than most.
Okay, so you think it's an individual thing? Okay, yeah.
Both. It's a macro and the micro. It's both. It's the inner and the outer. It's both.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm saying. Our cup overfloweth, or something like that. With your experience, with your story, your whatever, etc. Your downloads. Yeah. It teaches you, it grows you, it transforms you, and then by that happening to you, that overflows into the people in your life, into the Akashic records. Who knows how far up it goes or where it goes, whatever it is, or let's even say on the practical level, your viewers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you're making the videos now, but they could be watched. I mean, in who knows however many years time or whatever it is that they've been around.
Yeah.
It was a voice amongst the in the whispering forests, in a sense. I'm saying a loud echoing voice through the forest, a calling of saying, for all those others out there, the wanderers, or whatever it is, the visionaries God.
It almost felt like at the moment in time when I made my first video, it was after a DMT experience. It felt like I was on this mission and I was changing humanity. I was changing the world. I was going into singularity. And then a year later, it's just like I find combating that programming. Combating
I
think
you got a premonition. I don't think you were wrong. I think it was just a premonition that's still playing out. I had the same thing for myself as well.
Yeah.
Before I started my YouTube channels, my videos.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. If I'm picking up what you're saying, like in other words, you're saying you had this premonition of changing the world, of making whatever.
Exactly. It was kind of like a premonition, but now it's just like. And that's
now you're doing you're doing the preparations and the homework. It's like, okay, fine, it's like you kind of vision, let's say, the blueprint of a building and how to build it and construct it. But now you're sort of laying the cement and the groundwork and the foundation of it, and you're building it. So you went from the premonition of what it can be to, or what it is, what the becoming of it, to almost, okay, so now brick by brick by brick, how do I do it?
Yeah, and sometimes when you're laying those bricks, it's just like, am I doing the right thing? Like, sometimes I find myself questioning myself. Like, I do question, like, am I just going crazy? No, you're not. And I'm so thankful for people like you out there, because you make me realize, no, it's just waking up.
Well, I'm on the same boat, and sometimes it gets easy and sometimes it doesn't. This idea: have I gone too far out? Have I bitten off more than I can chew? Type of thing. And can I slow it down? Can I reverse it?
I don't think you can, because when I
no, you can't.
When I was in that space, like, I literally saw, like, in DMT space, my vision changed. Like, my actual vision changed, and I saw a spark within everything. And then I remember thinking, oh shit, I can't go back.
No.
And it was after literally they unplugged me. Like, there's a scene, a space in DMT where they unplug you and you're in this pod. And once they unplug you, it's just like you're outside. Like you're outside of that space and you're outside of that awareness and you're just like, oh my God, where am I? Who am I? What's going on? And then like you're ascending up into the light. And then you get this upgrade, like this, like literally, it's this like download of information in the tree of life. And I keep on talking about that because I've I always knew there was magic. I always
Yeah.
knew there was magic. It's just like it's like sifting through all the nonsense.
Well, you see, that's the thing is that I think it's also reconnecting with one's true nature, well, our true nature.
Yeah.
Again, we've been domesticated and modernized or whatever, modernized, I would say.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, if we had to speak to people from, let's say, 500 years ago who lived within shamanic sort of tribes and communities, they would say that this is the actual process of your sort of unanchoring of the material and the programming or whatever it is into the more of the ethereal and the spiritual and the Tao.
Yeah.
To be more of the Tao. Okay, so like I'm saying, the defragmentation feeling that goes on is it's actually your own removal or sort of disconnectedness from the sense of familiarity of things, or like the hard knock reality that we assume it to be. In other words, like when you feel that you're going it's because what I'm saying is that like everything is just falling through our fingertips. I mean, it's just time is just moving by. Nothing, it's all temporal. And we in modern world and culture and Western culture, whatever it is, we like no, it's not. Like we don't even think that there's such an idea of death. Okay, I mean we know that it's there, but we don't talk about it. Yeah. This transitioning point. We just think that what there is what there is. Your ego, your story, your narrative, the materialism, whatever is all that there is. There's no mystery, in other words.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that we've removed the mystery from our existence. Now what we're doing is getting back in touch with the mystery. And when you realize how mysterious everything is, it's like, where's all the familiarity gone? Yeah. Where's all the consistency gone, or whatever it is, and that's what we're growing out of. It's does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so that's what I'd like to think that for myself, because for myself, things become so loose, it becomes so surreal.
Yes, all the time when I'm in conversation, when I'm at the supermarket, like I just.
Oh yeah,
it's
the
crazy.
supermarket.
Yeah, anytime, like it'll be triggered by a synchronicity.
Oh yeah, a synchronicity happens. Yeah, like and brilliant example, but also just the bizarreness of everybody else sort of just walking around and a lot of automaticness that's going on, and you can actually feel that there isn't much of a depth there. Yeah. I'm saying like I love spending some time, not that I go, but when there's a funeral, you can really feel like there's a depth there. There's something that's more profound. That's the energy, I would say. But like in a supermarket, it's completely so superficial that it's almost like a dreamlike nature. It's almost like you're watching something on a very large HD TV. Yes. That's
yeah.
That's the kind of experience, and that's why for myself, I've actually had to stop smoking cannabis. I haven't smoked for probably about over a year now, and I do miss it. But this is already becoming so extreme in many ways, and so foreign, and so unusual, and so strange that I found that cannabis was just upgrading that to another level, and I couldn't handle it. The vibration was just kicking up too much, and I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, no, I feel that sometimes. I still smoke cannabis, but when I do, I've had to smoke a lot less. I do get into those psychedelic states. They are triggered, and that terrifies me. That's why I think about it, and I'm just like, am I at a place mentally where I can smoke? Because you are carrying a lot of, stuff. You are going through your thoughts, you know what I mean? You're already in a very psychedelic state. You're already open. And I find cannabis can be very, very psychedelic. It can be an entheogen for me, at least.
And what happens is that in order for me to wake up, I generally have like kind of a bit of a nightmare or like a bad dream. So then I'll wake myself up from it. I mean, it's a very interesting situation, but it's happened so many times that it's not just coincidental. So in other words, it's like I'm my stomach is feeling the pressure. I have the dream. It wakes me up, and then I go to the toilet. But I'm so out of it. Like I can't think straight. Like I can't put the intention of, okay, what you got to do now. Yeah. Like, okay, think about it. Take off the duvet, walk to the toilet, or whatever. I just don't have that focus. I'm still thinking about the dream. The dream's still there. Whatever it is, where am I? It's very dark. What's the time? What day of the week is it? I'm just very disorientated, and I get kind of overwhelmed, and I literally have to like kind of just say, okay, just try and get to the toilet, and then I have to keep concentration and calm all like the whole process, even until I get into bed, because I know that if I let the thoughts come or the mind go active, I can have it can turn into a bit of a panic, I must say.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of find the love, find the space, find the trust, find the beauty. I accept, okay, maybe I don't know what's going on, but I'm in good hands, I'm in a good space. And then eventually, hopefully, I'm able to calm myself down and then fall asleep. But again, I have these sort of, waking moments, like I'm falling asleep and then the dream starts. And it's like, am I dreaming, am I not? And I'm in and out of it, and then calm myself down, and it takes some time. Yeah. And then eventually I'll fall asleep, but can also get extreme as well. So, that's kind of what happens. So for myself, it's not pleasurable, I must say, but it seems to happen. There's also massive downloads that do come with it. At the same time, it kind of again reminds me about how sort of fluid this reality is again, and how this transformation that's happening for myself at least. So which is good. But I can wake up, I'm rather tired and unsettled, and so that's it basically.
Yeah, no, I find that it also happens to me when I'm getting that download. I go out and I walk on the dirt to try and ground me back to this reality, but it does shake me. I this scariness doesn't go away for me, but at least I can control my mind. For a really long time, that was difficult. I was talking to even Alan, and I was saying there was a point in time where after I've taken DMT, everything around me, and I'm talking about like a month later, was talking to me. Yeah. So it was like, it was me, and everything was me. And like, so the computer was
so
me.
there was no boundaries.
There was no boundaries.
You and everything else.
Yeah, there was none. And it was like I couldn't function. Like I didn't even know how to act. I didn't know what was real, what wasn't. It gets really, when you go deep, like it's literally becoming insane and then guiding yourself out of that insanity. That's how it felt for me.
Yeah, I know so well what you mean. It's like it's not real,
Nothing felt real, and to this day, like nothing does feel real. It everything feels like an afterthought. Like everything that I do now has to do with my consciousness and like serving, and like people sometimes think I'm boring, or they're just like, what do you do for fun? Or like, I'm like, this is my fun.
There's nothing else. What else can you manage to do? I mean, for crying out loud, this is already so much.
You know what I mean? And it's like understanding the quantum level reality, because now we have to learn sciences. Now we have to learn psychology. Now we have to know occult. Now we have to know like, everything. And it just takes up all of your time, that it's just like, everybody just begins to think you're weird. You see,
that's the way in my life that I've also seen how I've been blessed in order to do this, and why I also feel more of a responsibility. You see, my father's he's successful financially.
Yeah.
And he basically, he's taken care of me, I would say. I've tried to do it on my own, but I haven't really succeeded. And he hasn't doing it. It's also the universe that kind of does it. It's not just him intentionally. It's just there's a lot of dynamic to it. But the thing is that it's given me an opportunity and space to do these recordings, and not to get like a full-time job. I
Well, I
wouldn't manage
find
at a full-time
I
job
find
anyways.
all light workers, like, this is our job. And we have to have
Yeah,
some type of support. Like, my partner supports me, and I told him, I'm like, I can't function. I can't have like a
yeah,
download and feel like I'm on acid and be at work.
yeah.
Like, it just doesn't. It's,
No.
I'll get fired.
No, you can't do it. I mean, you can't. It's even for myself. Like the modern world tires me out very quickly. Getting stuck in traffic or
Yeah.
whatever it is, talking to too many people, engaged with too many activities, I get overwhelmed,
Yeah.
anxious, and I can't manage.
And it's so funny.
Again, it's just become a whole lot more sensitive.
Yes.
I mean, like you were saying with cannabis, for myself, it's like I'm aware that I'm living in the city. I'm aware that I'm surrounded by so many people. I'm surrounded of the energy of the city, which is not a very friendly city. I mean, it's one of the world's most like highest crime rates in the world.
Do you feel like we're just like we're here to be like that anchor? Because I find that a lot of us
Yes.
are put here in the worst possible places because we have to keep that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that a few times from different people, and I do think so. But I think it's also multidimensional. It's more than that as well. I think it's each subscribed to their own unique. Like for example, for myself, it's very interesting for myself the different cultures between black and white. I don't like those terms, but black and white people, and being third world and first world at the same time in a certain way. I do feel that I'm supposed to be where I'm at. I mean, in this country in particular, which is a very, very difficult country.
Yeah.
I mean, like, very, very few conscious people. I mean, most come from America that I've seen, especially my viewers.
Yeah.
I would say, again, 70% of them are Americans. I would love to be more in nature and whatever it is, but it's just that the universe has brought me to where I'm at now. I mean, we'll get into more of it, but the house that I'm living in, I mean, was such a synchronicity. I'm still blown away by it. It just still amazes me, and but we'll keep that for another day.
Yeah. Hey Reflections, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos.